So, if you clicked on this episode, it may be because you have a love-hate relationship with email marketing. For one, you get the benefits of it. It's data that you own, so we all know that you can literally take your list and take it anywhere you desire. It's a great way to connect with your audience on a more personal level, and email marketing really is key for generating new and potential clients. We know that. But it also may be annoying the crap out of you because it is yet another platform that you need to be creating content on. And what are you even supposed to say once these people sign up? So that part is the part that is probably making you hesitant to take email marketing seriously. I get it. The back and forth gets annoying, and most likely you've probably already ghosted your email list. But your newsletter and the people who have given up their sacred email address, it's really imperative for growing your coaching or service-based business. So these are the people who sign up for your email willingly. These people are people who have typically been following you for a while and are right on the edge of like booking that discovery call with you or applying to be in your program, which means it's your job to nurture them, to give them a little boost that they may need to fully commit. So email marketing is a great way to build those relationships, and in my opinion, and also in my years of experience, should be a content platform that you should really take seriously. So this week, I wanted to talk about email marketing, but specifically, what can we be sending to our newsletter that will really help to nurture those relationships? All right, so the first type of content that you can send to your newsletter is your journey. So if you're a new entrepreneur, or if you're working on a new project, or really just want to show your audience what your life and business looks like behind the scenes, this is a great space or a great piece of content to give your subscribers to make them feel like they have VIP access to you, or they make them feel like they're getting that VIP access to your content. So you could walk your subscribers through your process. So people love seeing how things work behind the scenes. So I did this a lot a few years ago when I really started to take my newsletter more seriously. I would share like personal tidbits. I would share my opinions and different happenings as it related to my life and my business. And it really did help to build trust within my audience. So if you have been wanting to give like a behind the scenes look of how your business operates, or how you've built your business, or a behind the scenes of you creating that next project or hitting that next milestone, that is really good content that your audience is looking for. People love interviews. People love seeing behind the scenes because naturally as humans, we are nosy. So people want to know, what does your life look like behind the pretty Instagram pictures? All right, the second piece of content that you can send out to your newsletter is to create a curated list of your favorite articles, products, or people as it relates to your brand. So if you guys were on my list when we were, running my business under Living Over Existing, that's one of the ways that I created my newsletter. I had the weekly 3. It was one article, one podcast episode, and then also one affirmation or quote to help you to have an incredible week. So the curated list idea works well. 2 of my all-time favorite newsletters is the Girls Night In newsletter, which is all about like self-care and like doing things at home. And then Ann Handley's Total Anarchy newsletter. Ann Handley is an incredible writer, and she always shares a lot of incredible resources inside of her newsletter that sometimes are mostly related to like writing and creating content and things like that, but she shares some fun pieces as well. But both of these newsletters do an incredible job of sourcing out content that is highly relatable to their brand, but also extremely interesting for those who follow them. So not only is it great content that you actually want to read, like I said, these are probably two of the few newsletters I actually really stick to, but it also takes the pressure off of always needing to create new content on your own. So if you have been following different blogs or podcasters or other people's newsletters, or, who are creating incredible content that your audience would find interesting and it really aligns with your brand. Including links to those articles or podcast episodes inside of your newsletter as like a roundup is a really great way for you to still provide incredible content. But again, it takes the pressure off of you having to create all of that content on your own. And that's not to say that you can't share your own content as well. I highly, highly recommend still creating content regularly and including that in your newsletters. But again, if you're at the point where you feel like you just don't have anything else to say, having those other articles or things that are happening in the news that you want to talk about, like that really does take the pressure off of content creation. All right. So the third tip is to repurpose your content. So let's talk about two different ways to tackle this because repurposing content is my jam, y'all. I love it. I love a good way to repurpose. So the first way is to, of course, repurpose your old content. So I have been creating content online now for like 8 or 9 years. I have tons of old blog posts and newsletters that literally have not seen the light of day since they were probably published. And one of my favorite ways to repurpose that content is to dig back into the archives and knock the dust off of some of those old articles and, old episodes and things like that, and revamp them, re-edit them, add new graphics, add in new and more relevant examples, and republish them as if they are not 5+ years old. That is my favorite way to bring life to old articles that people literally may have never read before. So the second way is to repurpose content that is current. So like content that you've literally just put out. So let's dig into this a minute because you're probably looking at me like, but how? So let's say, real life example here. Every Wednesday, I publish a new podcast episode, right? That is my main piece of content for the week. That's where I spend the most time creating content. That's where all of my gems go, quote unquote. That is where I'm spending the majority of my content creation time. The following Monday, after that podcast goes live, I write a newsletter to my audience that is centered around that podcast that I just published the week before. And I talk a little bit about it. I give maybe a more of an in-depth perspective or opinion on whatever the topic may have been. And then I lead my subscribers back to those links so that they can listen to or watch that episode in full. I'm not done yet. I then take the same piece of content, so that same podcast episode, and I will create social media posts around that episode. So that will give me a solid week of content, both on my podcast, my newsletter, and my social media account, and enough to get me through that week until I publish a new episode. I'm literally only creating one main piece of content. Now, of course, for things like social media, sometimes I will sprinkle in some other content ideas as well. But if I'm on a week where I literally just feel like I don't have anything else to say, or I don't feel like creating anything new, creating those social media posts from that one podcast episode helps me a ton. So repurpose your current content as well. Stop making it harder on yourself to create content. Your newsletter, contrary to popular belief, does not have to be this new thought-provoking article unless you really want it to be. If that's your jam, if that's where you really feel in the zone, then do your thing. But it does not have to be this new amazing piece of content when you can literally just repurpose something that you've already created before. So often we publish a new piece of content and it just sits there and only those who happen to be online at the moment hear about it. But you really want to, again, make the most out of that content that you're creating. If you even have to go back years from now, if those articles or blog posts or whatever are still related to what you're creating today, then don't be afraid to knock the dust off and republish them as if you literally just wrote it. So I'll talk about this more in another episode, but you'll really only need one piece of great content to use on all of your platforms. All right. So the fourth piece of content that you can create for your newsletter that will really help you to build that relationship and nurture that relationship with your subscribers is to turn your newsletter over to your audience. So my friend and mastermind buddy, Kyla Roma, had a really great newsletter series where she would simply answer one question each week from her subscribers. And for those who don't know Kyla, she is amazing. She is a online marketing coach. So most of the questions that she was taking for her newsletter were centered around marketing. So your subscribers will submit a question, and then all she does is dedicates one newsletter to answering that question. This idea is genius for 3 reasons. 1, it builds trust and relationships, so it makes your audience feel as if you're actually hearing them and that you care about the problems that they are currently struggling with. And you're also providing them with some great value in the process. So if you're answering their question, they're getting a solution to a problem that they were currently struggling with or something that was making them feel like they were stuck. The second reason this idea is genius is because you're building credibility. So you're literally dropping knowledge bomb after knowledge bomb each week in these newsletters, and it's the perfect way for you to show off your expertise. Third reason, it's easy content. It's so easy. So get a question and answer it. Your audience is literally doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Of course, you're going to have to make it a habit of asking people to fill out a form, to submit questions, and making sure you're promoting that so that you do have some questions to answer. But once you get into a good routine with that, it's easy. It's so easy. And if you're anything like me, I love answering questions. So being able to just go into your newsletter and answer a bunch of questions is game changing. All right, so those are my 4 tips for actually taking email marketing seriously and using it to build relationships with your audience. So one point that I didn't mention though was your call to action. So I talked about all the different types of content to create, but what does your subscriber do after they've consumed that piece of content? So you should not be leaving your audience hanging and wondering what the heck to do next. Since this is a prime space to sell, these people are probably already interested in what you have to offer. You should also be consistently letting your subscribers know what their best next step would be and how they can learn more about working with you. You can, talk about that throughout your content. You can lead into that at the end of your content. You can have a graphic that says, hey, I am now taking on clients. Click here to book a call with me. So make sure that you are telling your clients what that best next step is so that you're not just leaving them hanging. So of course, as always, I want to hear from you and I want to know what you think about this week's episode. So if you're listening to this episode right now on your favorite podcast app, do me a favor and take a screenshot and head over to Instagram and let me know what your biggest takeaway was. So you can tag me at the Alisha Nicole. And if you just so happen to be watching this on YouTube, leave a comment below. I want to hear what you think. All right, you guys, I will be chatting with you next week with more insight on how to launch and grow your coaching or online service-based business. I'll see you later.